Hello, girls and boys. Welcome again. Today we are doing our second reading, and today I have for you. It's called. It's called Clark the Shark, Lost and Found. It's a pretty interesting story because Clark also goes to school like many of you are. Well, maybe not right now, but he is also at the age where he would normally go to school. Now, here's a little description before we jump into the book. Clark the Shark is going on a class trip to the farmer's market. Hurrah, hooray, it's time to play. But what happens when Clark gets lost in the crowd? Let's find out, shall we? Okay. Let's make sure you can see all right. Okay. I have an exciting announcement, said Mrs. Inkydink to Clark's class. Today is our field trip to the farmer's market. Woohoo! Cried the class. Woohoo! Cried Clark the Shark. I have never seen a farmer's market. Now, girls and boys, have you ever been to a farmer's market? I have a couple times. In fact, I recently went to one, well, maybe not so recent, maybe a year ago. I went to a farmer's market with one of our very own teachers, Miss Dawn, and there, I won't say who, but we actually met a family and one of our students who was helping out at a farmer's market. At a farmer's market, they do a lot of cool things. They sell different fresh produce, maybe like vegetables or fruits, and then they might also sell some really yummy food. Farmer's market is just a really fun place. So that's why Clark's class is getting so excited because they get to go to a farmer's market. All right, let me pull a little closer. Okay. Please remember 3 things, said Mrs. Inkydink. Hold hands with your buddies, that's the first one. Follow instructions, that's the second one. And use your inside voices. So don't be too loud, and that's the third and final one. Well, what was Clark doing? Clark was so busy talking to Joey, his good friend, he wasn't paying attention. Dun dun dun. So a student who was not paying attention when the teacher was speaking. That does not sound good. All right, let's see if I can point at the same time. Seeing all right? Did everyone get that? Asked Mrs. Inkydink. Yes, teacher, said the class. Get what? Asked Joey. I don't know, said Clark. Hurrah, hooray, it's time to play. So they are so excited about going to the farmer's market, but they don't know what Mrs. Inkydink just told them. The farmer's market was so exciting. So much to see, so much to do, and so much to eat. Look at all the food, cried Clark. Yum, yum, yum. Well, Clark and I shared something in common. I like to eat too. Like a lot. Yummy, yummy food. And we move on to the next page. What are the 3 things Mrs. Inkydink told us to remember? Asked Joey. Well, at least they remember, or at least they knew that the teacher had something important to tell them. Stick with your buddy, don't get muddy, and I forget, said Clark. Hurrah, hooray, it's time to play. Clark and Joey tried the samples and Clark ate way too many. So sometimes if we go to a farmer's market or maybe even a big grocery stores, they might have free sample stand where where people can just walk up and try something for free. Now, the idea is you try a little bit just to get a taste of what it's like. It's not meant to be eaten a lot, but looks like that's what Clark is doing. He didn't just take one, but he kept on eating. They watched the jugglers, but Clark didn't just watch. He started juggling himself too, with the free samples and with his friends. When Clark heard some fun music, he danced his funky shark dance, but things got a little too funky. By the time Clark and Joey helped clean everything up, their class was out of sight. So at least they helped clean up everything, and that's good. But then they lost their class. That sounds scary. But Clark didn't want to go yet. Just one more song, he said. A big crowd was enjoying the music, and the two buddies got separated. Joey, said Clark, where are you? So they were already separated from their class, but now it gets worse. Clark and Joey are not even together. Clark looked under the sea grape stand, but Joey wasn't there. He looked by the jugglers, but Joey wasn't there either. Clark had lost his buddy and his class. Clark was so worried he couldn't eat, play, or hurrah hooray. Maybe the three things teacher told us to do will help, said Clark. But what were they? Stay with your friend, don't try to bend, and that's not it. I wonder if we can help him remember, girls and boys. Clark bit his lip. He wished he had followed instructions, stuck with his buddy, and that's it, cried Clark. Looks like he remembered. Hey, Joey, Clark yelled. I remember now. It's hold hands with your buddies, follow instructions, and use your inside, voices? Look how excited he was. Clark shouted so loudly that Joey came and found him, and Joey wasn't the only one. There you are, said Mrs. Inkydink. I see I need to add a fourth rule. What's that? Asked Clark. If you ever get lost, said Mrs. Inkydink, stay in one spot and yell a lot. Now, that is actually, a very important tip from the teacher, because if you do get lost out in the open, it's best to stay at exactly where you are and yell for help, because if the adult realizes that you are lost, then they can always go back to where you were and try to find you. But if you keep moving around, then they may not be able to find you. So Mrs. Inkydink got the idea. If you ever get lost, stay in one spot and don't move, don't go anywhere, and cried for help. Okay? And Clark said, that's one rule I can remember, because he does like to yell a lot. The end. But before we go into maybe summarizing what we learned today from Clark's story, the book actually gave us some really fun facts. So let's go through these fun facts about sharks. You ready? Let's see. All right. Sharks eat only when they're hungry, and sometimes days or even weeks pass between meals for big sharks. So, sharks don't always eat a whole lot. They don't eat too often. They may have a really big meal, but then they might not be eating for days or even weeks. That's pretty cool. The second fun fact is sharks don't have tongues. You and I have tongues, but they don't. Their taste buds are in their throats and mouths, so they taste things with their throats and their mouths because they don't have tongues. I didn't know that. And finally, Sharks are near the top of the food chain. This means that there is almost nothing in the sea that eats sharks. Now, they eat pretty much everything or everyone else, but there's really nothing that would eat sharks. So that's what it means that sharks are at the top of the food chain. I hope you enjoyed today's book. So, girls and boys, what can we learn from Clark's story today from his field trip? Now, he sure had fun, but in between the fun times, there were some problems too. And the problem was because he did not listen to his teacher, right? So, one big lesson we can learn from him today is to always listen to our teachers. Now, did you know that when your teachers ask you to do a few things, to follow directions, to listen, a lot of times, even if we don't understand why, we know that it's because our teacher has our best interest in mind, meaning they love us, they care about us, and they want what's best for us. So we may not understand why our teacher asks us to follow directions sometimes, but we need to remember if that is what our teacher asks us to do, ask the whole class to follow directions, we need to do that because they have our best interests in mind. Now, you might be wondering, well, Dr. Chen, we're not at school today or for a while now. We don't really have a teacher right nearby to tell us what we should be doing, to tell us to follow directions. So how can we apply what we learned today? Well, I'm glad you asked. So, the same principle can actually apply to the adults that take care of you in your life. Now, that could be your daddy, that could be your mommy, that could be your grandpa, that could be your grandma, that could be your auntie, or that could be your uncle, whoever that might be. The adult or the adults that take care of you in your life, those are the adults that you need to listen to. Okay? I hope you enjoyed today's book, and I'll see you again soon. Bye, Wildcats.